Welcome to Solve It Like a Marketer. I'm Stephen Hobe. Today we are exploring the diffusion of innovation process, from innovators to laggards. Don't go away. Now, the diffusion of innovation, DOI theory, is the process by which new products are adopted, or not, by prospective consumers. Now, it allows marketers to examine why some products are successful in the marketplace while others just never catch on. This theory was developed by E.M. Rogers, a communication theorist at the University of New Mexico in 1962. It explains the passage of an idea through stages of adoption by different actors within a certain defined marketplace. Now, typically, this theory works best when tracking new product launches, monitoring those consumers willing to take a chance on your product or service in its early stage of introduction, to those who hold out until the product has been around for a while before purchasing. So, who are these people that make up the diffusion of innovations process? Well, we start with innovators, so people who are open to risks and the first to try new ideas. They are venturesome, and although they make up a very small part of the total market, innovators play a very important role. They are interested in anything new and are quick to adopt innovative products. Next along, early adopters, so people who are interested in trying new technologies and establishing their utility in society. They are typically opinion leaders. They pay attention to what the innovators have discovered and find a practical use for the innovation. They then communicate to their followers the usefulness of the new product. For example, they will stand in long lineups to buy the latest iPhone and then review online. The early majority paves the way for use of an innovation within mainstream society and are part of the general population. They carefully observe the early adopters, but wait to adopt innovative products until they're sure they will get value from them. Now, the late majority is also part of the general population and refers to the set of people who follow the early majority into adopting an innovation as part of their daily life. They are skeptics and will wait until an innovation has been accepted by a majority of consumers and the price has dropped. Finally, laggards. As the name indicates, laggards lag behind the general population in adopting innovative products and new ideas. They're very stubborn indeed. They're risk averse and set in their ways of doing things. Now, typically, if a product or service has saturated the market and everyone around them is using it, and it might benefit them in their daily life, then maybe, possibly, they might adopt. Now, Rogers further created a 5-stage framework for diffusion of innovation, and this can help us understand the process even better. We begin with knowledge, so this is where the potential adopter is first exposed to the innovation itself. What's key is to provide the consumer enough information and education about the product or service for them to make an informed decision. This will then move them on to the second stage, which is persuasion. Now, persuasion takes place when the potential adopter is open to the idea of a purchase. Here, marketers should not only supply information, but convey the product's benefits. Next up, we move to decision. Ultimately, the hopeful consumer will need to make a decision, having weighed what they've learned about the product. They will weigh up the pros and the cons and either accept the innovation or reject it. Our fourth dimension is implementation. This stage is where the consumer evaluates their post-purchase, whether the product is actually useful to them or not. And finally, confirmation. This is where the consumer evaluates their decision and finally decides whether they will keep using the product or service or discontinue. So for instance, if you made a large purchase such as a car, will you buy the same brand again in the future? Or is it something smaller like toothpaste? Will you be brand loyal or switch? Now, just for fun, let's consider our diffusion of innovation model in the context of a case study for, in this case, editing software by Adobe. Let's say this software is just being introduced into the market and see how each adopter category would be targeted and react. In order to target innovators, our first consumer category, we would promote the new software on popular tech websites and media outlets. Now, these are sites that our would-be consumers likely frequent, as well as adding legitimacy to the product. Early adopters could be targeted by creating testimonials of consumers describing their experiences with the product. It's best to choose consumers who also fit within the early adopter profile so that they seem relatable. Next, our early majority. Here, we need to become more granular with our marketing efforts, launching specific campaigns and appealing creatives. You could do how-to videos and blog posts to drive engagement and stimulate discussion. Now, the key with the late majority are reviews. It will be important to stimulate two-way dialogue about the product on different platforms in order to ease any doubt in the consumer's minds. Now, this will also create a sense of urgency. Our consumers may feel that if they don't act now, they will be behind the wave. Finally, laggards. And to be honest, they are really difficult to inspire into action. It's best to focus efforts on the other categories with the possibility that laggards may naturally follow eventually if they have no other options. I know, sounds bleak, but there it is. So, if you are launching a new product or service, you can use this model to help identify the marketing materials needed for each group. I would suggest creating user profiles. What does the atypical early adopter look like? Give them a name, age, location, likes and dislikes, hobbies, and so forth. This will really help you in creating marketing campaigns targeted towards real people. I'd also suggest, if you have already introduced a product or service, examine where it falls in terms of engagement. Think about whether you truly captured those innovators and early adopters in the early stages of release. Can you still capitalize on initial momentum? As with many of these types of models, they aren't set in stone. Even if your product is not new, you can still create customer profiles to fuel your marketing efforts. If you have an existing product or service, but then add new features, you can treat it as though it were being introduced into the marketplace for the first time. Ultimately, it's extremely helpful to have an overarching picture of what your would-be consumers will look like over time, always with the underlying goal of not making quick short-term sales, but retaining happy customers through brand loyalty, a shared feeling between you and your customers that they've made the right choice. If you'd like to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. You can also catch me on Instagram, link below, so join the discussion. I will see you every week with a new video, so please stay tuned, and together, let's solve it like a marketer.